I didn't feel like I had limitations. It was like, well, why can't I go to the moon? If they went to the moon, why can't I go to the moon? And that's genuinely how I thought as a child. And I feel like that curiosity served as like a fuel for my faith as I continued to grow older. And I feel like that combination of things, without a doubt, has been a foundational component in my success, whatever I define that as. Half of this is time, especially in this business, because it's so relationship based. You need time on your side. So you quite literally cannot rush this. I don't want you to rush it or you're going to mess some stuff up. You need time. Time is on your side. The more time you can get under your belt, staying persistent, the further you will get, because most people aren't going to stay persistent. Hi, this is Alexis Wilson, and you're listening to Dreams and Drive.
Hey, Dream Drivers, welcome to this episode of Dreams and Drive. Today in the guest chair, we have Alexis Wilson. Alexis is a social entrepreneur, speaker, and the CEO of Exalt Management, which is a talent management agency that specializes in building minds and brands. Alexis has devoted many years to researching how humans can be renewed in mind, body, and spirit, and has in turn identified some tools and practices for life transformation and elevation. We talk a lot in this episode about her own dream driving journey from growing up in Michigan, going to college, and then the decision to location change, what it was like for her to move to LA eventually, found her management company, and also just build who Alexis is and the impact that she wants to have on this world. I love talking to Alexis. I think that she's going to share so much with you all that will leave you inspired, motivated, and encouraged to keep on along your own paths. If this is your first time listening to Dreams and Drive, please make sure that you're subscribed so that you get notifications every time we have a new episode. And also, if you want to join our email list and get weekly email updates from me personally, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/join. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join to sign up. All right, let's us hear from Alexis. Hi, Alexis. Welcome to Dreams and Drive.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I am super pumped to have you on the show. I always think it's crazy when I see somebody on like social media and I tag them like in my own phone, like, I need to reach out to them. And then their people reach out to me and it just comes full circle. The universe conspires to make things happen, right?
Synergy.
I am really just excited to have you on the show and just share your dream driving journey and all the dope things that you're up to.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. And I do love when synergy happens like that. I'm excited to share and talk.
Yeah, so I've been doing this metaphor for the past few interviews about pulling up, right? So I'm pulling up at your house, you're coming in my car, right? And we're about to take a drive. Mm-hmm. I want you to take me to Michigan, right? That's where you grew up?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go to Michigan and take me to the young Alexis, right? Yeah. What was inspiring you back then as a child? Like, what was really lighting you up about the world?
Well, as a kid, I really think anything colorful, anything bright, anything that seemed too big for me to have right then in the moment. Like if there was something that was big, it was like, oh, I want that. I was into like painting and creating and like, I also was very much into creating things that I could profit from. So even when, and I laugh about this with my best friend, thinking about like the childhood things you do, I would like knit, crochet clothes for my Barbie dolls, but like they would have to buy them. The Barbie dolls were like exchanging money for these clothes. Or if I was doing their hair, you're paying to get your hair done.
Oh my gosh.
My Bratz dolls paid, so that was really fun for me. I was a Girl Scout and it was fun for me to be the top seller. Like I always liked being able to exchange value. I liked being able to create something and being able to give it to someone in exchange for some sort of currency or something like that. I've always been into that and just was super curious. I was always asking why about things. How did they do this? How did they do that? Coming up with like random ideas and presenting them to my mom and dad. Like it's just anything that was curious and creative and that could bring in currency, I was very much into as a kid.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I feel like that's a comment there with all our guests. Like we were all like young hustlers, young dreamers, young doers, and those skill sets and just those foundational things were in us as young kids. What do you think was like your superstar strength that you were building at that young age, beyond just like having this knack for selling, for, transactional, for creating value for others? Like, what were some other things that you really think now, looking back, like, I was really good at this even back then?
Being curious. I feel like for me, being able to ask why without, and not really just accepting things as they are, being able to ask why, being able to wonder, like, what is the back end of this thing? What is the science and the art behind how this business or how this operation or how this whatever works? That's how I was at it as a kid. It was I didn't feel like I had limitations. It was like, well, why can't I go to the moon? If they went to the moon, why can't I go to the moon? And that's genuinely how I thought as a child. And I feel like that curiosity served as like a fuel for my faith as I continued to grow older. And I feel like that combination of things, without a doubt, has been a foundational component in my success, whatever I define that as, as I got older.
What was the dream for you as a child? I think it's so interesting for us to think back about, like, what was it that I wanted to do, and then what actually happened. So take us to what it was that you thought the older Alexis was going to be.
I feel like I remember at one point when I was in the fifth grade, I wanted to be a lawyer. And I don't think I had a reason as to why I wanted to be a lawyer, though. I think I wanted to be a lawyer because this girl in my class, her name was Yvonne. And I thought Yvonne was so cool, and she wanted to be a lawyer. And I think like I adapted that, but there was something about like being able to represent someone that I did genuinely like. But eventually, like that died down. But it is funny because being in the talent space, the amount of contracts, most of my job is negotiating contracts. And when I tell you it lights me up, and even one of my clients, the last meeting we had, she said, if you wanted to be a lawyer, I really think that you could do it. I was like, I think I might have been one in the past life or something.
It's never too late, right? You can always, law school on the side.
It's so fun for me. And it actually is kind of like strange. I just didn't think that I would enjoy reading contracts, but I mean, I love it. I love negotiating. I love advocating for my clients. I love finding that middle ground where both parties are happy. I think that like, I don't know, it does something good when I can make the company happy and I can make my client happy. And it's a good process. Like it's an art to it, truly. And it takes like people skills and communication skills. So that lights me up. And then I think that I don't know if there was like a specific profession. I just knew that I was going to use my hands to create something. I knew that I could bring things into fruition, whether it was me crocheting, like I ended up having a crochet business with my best friend, or if it was me baking cupcakes in high school and selling those, or, I just wanted to make. I would, at some point, you know what? I did think I was going to go down a different path. I was into fashion a lot. So I was making my homecoming dresses. I made my prom dress. And you couldn't tell me I wasn't going to be a designer, or at the very least, a fashion merchandiser. That's what I was really, really into. And I think that still shows up for me present day, because I like to still dress cute and I like to style things, and like I view it as a form of creativity. But that definitely is what I wanted to lean into when I was graduating from high school, going to college.
So I want to pause you really quick, because I think that transition from high school to college is so critical for us. And one of the biggest voices for a lot of us can be that parental voice, right? Like that words of wisdom as you go into this new stage. And, your parents, what would you say what was that voice in your head as they let you go and Alexis was about to go into the world on her own?
Well, my mom has always been you can do anything, because her father, he had all girls. So he was very adamant about telling them, my girls can do anything. There is nothing you can't do. Like he gets angry if any of the grandkids or them say, I can't. Like he does not like for that to be a thing. And I think that attitude transferred over to my mom. And so if there was ever anything that I wanted to do, what she did was she positioned me to be able to do that thing. She set me up, or tried her hardest to get me in the space, in the environment that was conducive to my growth. And so I think that for my first year, my mom was a little bit more focused on my academics. And then I remember it coming to a point where she was just like, this baby is not an academic. Like that's not her. Like she's pure bad.
It's important for you to know that though, right? It's important.
And I remember though, when she did like fully accept and embrace me for me in that regard, I felt so much more free to operate my purpose, to do what I love, and to lean into things that actually lit me up, because it wasn't school. The school system isn't my favorite. I think that it's very beneficial for when you know exactly what you want to do and you can study and focus in on those specific things. But most kids are not taught about purpose and how to even identify purpose or anything like that in order to know what they should be studying. And I was one of those kids. So I think that like my mom's ability to let me be me and let me be free played a large role in me being able to focus more on purpose when I was in college than my academics. And then my dad actually didn't go to college. So I think that college in general for him was kind of like foreign a little bit. And so he was just kind of like, I mean, if you want to go, you can go. But if you would rather us give you money, you know, to start a business, then you could do that. And if I knew what I knew now, I would have definitely just taken that route. But I was bred to go to college. So I went there. So I think those things would definitely have played a factor.
I think it's important that you share that, and the idea of college helping you find your purpose, right? Even if it's like, this is not what you want to do, right? So post-college, what was the plan then? You graduated from University of Michigan, right? You had your degree. Did you say, hey, toss it? Or did you say, all right, I'm going to try to see if I could do something with this? Although you had these other inklings in mind, right?
Let me be.
Let's be honest.
I'm going to be honest. There came a point in my collegiate career where I said, don't ask me about my GPA. Don't ask me about it. Because we know that this degree for me is not going to be it's not going to determine my success. It might help to have that University of Michigan on my resume. It absolutely does help. Our network is incredible. And the University of Michigan did require me to work at a certain level that I deeply appreciate. I will also say that it was the entrepreneurship department, that was my minor at U of M, that greatly contributed to my success, and that had a huge influence on the path that I took. So yes, but no is what I will say. I think that after college, a little bit of backstory. I interned at Unilever, which was home to Shea Moisture and Madam CJ Walker Beauty and all of that. And I was a huge Shea Moisture girl. This was back when Shea Moisture was like the most popping ever. And it was my dream to intern there. And Guy had told me like a year and a half before that I was going to intern in New York and that it was going to be this crazy situation and that it all was going to happen. And it did. And so I was there and I remember asking them, like, can I work remotely, you know, when I go back to school? And so I was continuing to work for them for, you know, the rest of my schooling time. And then even like a year after I graduated, I was working.
What were you doing there?
Marketing.
Okay.
Marketing. Yep. So digital marketing, a lot of social media marketing. I appreciate the Shea Moisture family so much because they saw my talent and they were like, let's nourish this. Let's get her. They had me in rooms where like the big decisions were being made. And I remember her name was Kimberly Constant. I think she was like head of global brand and communications. And they were all giving comments on things. And she looked at me and she said, Alexis, what do you think? And I remember being like, you know, like I think I was a junior in college. So I was nervous, you know, to be answering. And then I remember her being like, that's what we need to do. And she just like empowered me so much to feel like my voice mattered and like I was on the right path. And they let me do a lot of different things. I remember, you know, people when Shea Moisture had cosmetics and like, you know, lip products and blushes and all of that, they would pull me on for product development because they're like, you're our target audience. So how does this marketing sound? How does this copy sound? They let me write some creative direction. They let me write some script for commercials. Like they let me dabble in a lot of different things. And to this day, I attribute so much of my success and my confidence in marketing to Shea Moisture and to that team there. And especially to the women there and also to Rich, the founder. But yeah, that definitely had a large influence on my path. And I remember I was debating on going full time there, and I really wanted to go to New York, but I felt like I was supposed to start Exalt. And at the time, since I was in the beauty space, I felt more comfortable being in that space. And so I remember also getting an offer from the Lip Bar to do some contractual
Melissa
work.
was on our show, Melissa
Was
Butler.
she?
Yeah.
Yes,
She's
yes.
so dope, and what they're doing now is so dope.
Oh my gosh. Yes, her and Roscoe are incredible. And they also were, that was also a marketing moment for me because that was my first client, you know. And I remember like some of the first things I was working on with them was like campaigns with Ashley Blaine and helping them do their influencer marketing launch into over 100 Target stores. So it was like I was doing some really cool high level projects with a really dope team of women. And so that was kind of how I started off with Exalt and started flexing my muscles in that space more. And then from there, it was like me really sitting down and honing in on the vision of Exalt, knowing that when God did show me what Exalt was supposed to be, that it was going to be in the entertainment space.
Let's take a pause right there. I want to know, what was that thing that was telling you to start Exalt and why, right?
So you know how I said I used college for like purpose and personal development? I was literally reading philosophy, studying the brain, metacognition, metaphysics, every day, because it was like this burning desire for me to understand why the heck I was here on earth and what I was supposed to be contributing and doing. I was like obsessed with figuring it out. And intuitively, I knew like, okay, if I go inward, I will be able to find this answer. So I continued to. And I remember just being in prayer, you know, after some time of doing that. And I heard the word exalt. I'm like, I feel like I've heard that before. I've read it in the Bible or something like that. And I looked it up and it meant to raise in character, stature, or power. And I heard talent management. And I'm like, what is talent management? We don't know what that is.
You had never done it before, right?
No, I didn't even, I couldn't comprehend. I literally could not comprehend what that meant because I didn't know anybody that did talent management because Michigan is not a scene for entertainment. So it just, I was really intimidated by it, honestly. And I quite literally could not understand what it meant. And I was looking up management, and for anybody that's in management, when you're in it, and once you've been doing it, you know exactly the type of things you should be doing. But when you're going into management, unless you're able to like really see and hands-on experience it, it's hard to give it like, these are the specific things you do for management, because it varies, you know. And so I was just having a hard time wrapping my head around it, and I was intimidated by it. And I knew that I was supposed to be in entertainment, but I'm like, well, beauty is easier, product is easier. And
how did you know about entertainment though, especially because a lot of your experience to date had been in like the retail and beauty world?
I didn't. That's why I didn't lean into it. That's why I say in beauty, because I'm like, I literally was like, I don't know what this means. And so I was limited to my resources in Michigan, and nobody there knew what talent management was really either. Like I just didn't know what to do. So I just kind of, I put it on a back burner. And I'm like, okay, Exalt, I know it's going to be in marketing. I know it's going to be in elevating and branding. So let me just do it in this space first. And then when I'm ready to transition to entertainment, I will. That's kind of how I was playing it, but just playing it scared, you know, honestly, and just not ready to do that.
So, okay. So talk us through those first clients. You said that, you know, the Lip Bar was one of your first clients. How did you get them? And then what was your approach to entrepreneurship in the beginning? Because I feel like as we evolve, as we have more experience, sometimes we realize things about what it takes to run a business. But in the beginning, talk to me about your mindset, and then we'll talk to you. Then we'll shift to like what it is now and the things that you learned.
Yeah. The first part, I don't remember how I got in touch with the Lip Bar. Somebody, I can't remember who, somebody reached out to me and said, hey, the CEO of the Lit Bar is looking for someone to do their branding and marketing. Oh, I wish I could remember who it was. I thank that person in spirit right now, but like they reached out and I was like, sure. And it happened to be at the time where I was deciding between going to New York and working full-time at Shea or starting Exalt. So I was like, is this a sign? Like, am I like,
could be, right?
am I supposed to take this on? So that's how that got started. And then it just was conversations with Melissa and I, her learning about the work that I did and me learning about the pain points that she was having and what she needed. And then I remember being like, okay, let me get my first little contract together and, you know,
like you putting that lawyer desire in motion, right?
Fifth grade me popped out. Okay. But yeah, I remember doing that. And I remember talking with my mom, like, how should I go about this? Because my parents run a nonprofit in Detroit and I was doing some contractual work with them as well at the same time. So at one point I was literally doing Shea Moisture and Exalt with the Lit Bar and the union. And I feel like I had like one other client.
So were you doing it solely at this point or did you have a little side job on were you doing like
the side job was, well, really, it felt like the side job was Exalt and that my main job was Shea Moisture.
Okay.
Because I was still working with Shea Moisture part-time.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it was in terms of like the mindset that was required, you know, honestly, my mindset back then versus now is like very, very different. But I will say that the thread that has carried over was like having that faith and just going for it and just being like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to figure it out. I think back then that felt more daunting, whereas today it's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but this is a part of the journey. This is fantastic. Yeah. I'm going to figure it out. Whereas back then it was like, I don't know what I'm doing and therefore maybe I shouldn't be doing it. That's how it felt, but still having to persist anyway.
What were those things that you had to figure out in the early days? And did you, right? Because sometimes it could be like, oh, I still am trying to figure it out. But like, what were those big challenges that were coming up? And then how were you working through them?
I mean, I remember the first one was like, oh my God, how much do I charge for this? Like, what should I do? You know, and being afraid to charge, you know, what I thought I should. And I remember, you know, setting boundaries, you know, with clients. That was a tough thing for me. And it took some years for me to figure that out. I think truly learning how to go beyond what was in front of me, that took me some time. I feel like within the past few years is when it's been like let's stretch this. Like it's an intentional, like, no,
stretch yourself or stretch the service. Because it could be both, right?
Me, so that I can stretch the service. Because I really stand on the principle, and Exalt stands on this principle too, that your business can only be a reflection of you. So if you are not stretching, if you are not growing, your business is not growing. I tell my clients this all the time, whether I'm working with an artist or a public figure or whomever, your brand is going to be a reflection of you. If you scared, you're going to produce scared. It's going to, and people are going to feel it. You're not going to show up on social media. You're not going to release your music. You're not going to, you know, send that pitch in for this new project. You're just going to be stifled. And it's not because the product or the service isn't good. It's because on the inside, there is some sort of insecurity or some sort of something that needs a little bit of internal hard work and attention so that your external world can reflect what's going on the inside. So I think for me, that was a huge piece that took some time for me to really like get on lock. You know, now it's like default of, I noticed I was scared today when I was talking about X, Y, and Z. And then you go and do the work. And it's like, I know that if I don't get rid of that fear, it's going to show up in this business negotiation.
So how did you do that though? Because I think, you know, your business has definitely grown, right? So that means you've grown, as you just said. But like, how did you actually grow in the sense of figuring out how to get past those things that were not allowing you to stretch, right?
Yes. So that period, which really was for about like 3 years in school, my curriculum was not the curriculum that they were teaching. My curriculum was philosophy and metacognition and metaphysics and the mind and the subconscious mind. And through that, I started learning what limiting beliefs were. I started learning what neuro-linguistic programming was. And I started understanding how the subconscious mind worked and how really everything is connected to that. And that if I could identify the limiting beliefs that were in my subconscious mind, weed them out and replace them with new ones, I could quite literally be transformed by the renewing of my mind. So that's where I started.
That stuff is real. It's not just, people say, affirmations and like that stuff is really scientifically proven to be true.
Yes. And like the reason the affirmations don't work is because you're not actually doing the science. Like if you don't pull up, if you cannot identify the limiting belief first, okay, and then pull it out and rework it and reframe it, the affirmations are useless. They're not going to work because they're going to be in adamant opposition to what's in your subconscious mind. So until you have a mirror held up, until you have light shined on that thing, the affirmations are useless and they don't work. And which is why so many people are like, oh, that stuff is foo-foo. No, but you're just not doing the work and you're thinking that you can go say a sentence in front of the mirror and you're going to see dramatic results. It doesn't work like that. If you're not willing to put in the work, it won't work. It's as simple as that.
It's time to celebrate Black History Month at the Walmart Black and Unlimited Clock. One at Flatiron Plaza in New York City, one at Ovation Hollywood in Los Angeles, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. With giveaways dropping every hour on the hour, it's the perfect time to try, like, and share Black-led products. It's free, it's for everyone, and it's your chance to see how you can level up your daily routine with Black-led products that are creating a new world of choices at Walmart. Trust, you don't want to miss it. Toyota is doing big things helping grassroots community organizations across the country with its Nudge campaign. The Nudge campaign reflects Toyota's commitment to supporting and furthering the success of those who need it most. A few months ago, Toyota debuted the After the Nudge podcast. The podcast is a 7-episode limited series hosted by acclaimed journalist Soledad O'Brien and former NBA All-Star J.R. Smith. It features conversations with community organizations that Toyota nudged via $10,000 micro grants. We get to find out what happened after the nudge. On the After the Nudge podcast, you'll hear from founders and leaders like Paulana Lamonnier from Black People Will Swim, Dr. Khalid El Hakim from the Black History 101 Mobile Museum, Demetrius Harris from Fly Compton Foundation, and others. Learn how a simple nudge from Toyota helped boost their momentum, amplify their movements, and propel them to greater heights. Look for the Toyota After the Nudge podcast on toyota.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. So Dream Drivers, I'm a few months into this mother of two life changing diapers every day. Luckily for me, I'm a pampered Swaddlers mama, so I don't have much to worry about when it comes to changing time. Did y'all know that Pampers Swaddlers features a blowout barrier at the back waist to help prevent up to 100% of leaks, even blowouts? So I can rest assured that I will have superior leak protection while keeping my baby skin healthy and dry. And listen, need a hot baby shower gift for parents to be in 2024? Gift an online diaper fund with Pamper Diaper Stashes so you can gift a diaper stockpile that never has to run out. It's the gift that always fits, taking the guesswork out of choosing what size and how many diapers to gift. And it's easy to use. You just create a surprise diaper stash account, share the link with family and friends so that they can contribute, watch that stash grow, and then you can gift the stash to the parent so that they can buy Pampers diapers and wipes whenever they like. And I wish I had this for my baby shower because honestly, it just allows others to contribute in a way that allows us parents to buy what we need when we need it. Getting them physical diapers is cool, but that diaper stash fund puts that ease of flexibility back in the hands of us mamas. Pampers, thanks for the new ways to allow friends and family to say, we've got you. Do you need somebody else to help you put in the work? And I'm saying that, like, what does putting in the work mean? Does it mean like having a therapist, having a metacognition? I don't know what even the person is called, right? Like what
a mindset coach, mindset coach.
What does that mean, right? Because I think a lot of us think, I think especially like in the millennial age and social media age, you do think you can just like will yourself into doing things, or you can affirm yourself into success, but you're saying there's more, right?
1,000%. So for me, I always tell people, like, I don't trust mentors that don't have mentors. I don't trust coaches that don't have coaches. I don't trust therapists that don't have therapists. I just don't, because you cannot see your own blind spots. That's another principle that Exalt stands on, which is why we do offer the talent that we work with mindset coaching, because we stand on that principle that your business, your brand can only be a reflection of you. If you're not good on the inside, it's going to show up on the outside. And you do need someone to hold up the mirror, which is what we do at Exalt Management, so that you can see those blind spots and address them. Now, I also will say you have to do the work by yourself as well. And if you have a good mindset coach, they'll give you exercises and action plans and things that you can implement in your in between. And over time, you might go from seeing a coach from like once a week to twice a month to once a month, to quarterly, just depending. But most people want to keep it up for like once a month just for maintenance, right? Same how you would do with therapy. But the difference between therapy and mindset coaching is therapy often deals with trauma and things in the past, whereas mindset coaching deals with where you are right now and where you would like to be. And the only time we'll really go back to the past is if we need to use like neuro-linguistic programming to identify a limiting belief that got planted when you were 6 that's been holding you back your entire life. Yeah. We'll go back there, we'll grab that real quick and we'll flip it. And then I always say, if I see something, I'm like, hey, you need to talk to a therapist about that. Because some things is just not for mindset coaches to discuss. I'm a huge fan of that.
So, and you talked about boundaries, like knowing you're not going to then say, hey, this is outside of my scope. You need to go with a professional who can help you work through that. So then our work can be even more effective, right?
1,000%. Sometimes the action plan that I will give is don't come back to me until you've signed up and talked to a therapist, because this thing that you got going on right here is an emotional thing. And I'm trying to deal with your mental, and they're both connected, but this is going to block you from getting there. And you need some attention on that. So sometimes that's the action plan.
I love that you talk about this because, we talk a lot about entrepreneurship and we talk a lot about, what it takes to be successful. But I think this specific conversation is one that we kind of just gloss over, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't realize just how much their mindset could be hindering them from success. Like, could you possibly give us an example? Like, did you have a client that once you were able to, you don't have to give names, right? But like, once you were able to really figure out the issue here, things change for them, right?
Yeah. I mean, every client. I mean, it's so many, it can be things from like them not wanting to ask for more money. And I was like, I'm not negotiating this deal for this amount of money. What's going on? And we had to have a conversation so I could identify like, okay, there's some sort of limiting belief that is causing you to think that you are not worthy of this amount. So let's talk about that. Let me figure out how I can flip this and reframe this so that I can go in here confidently and get you the money that you deserve. And, it's clients, most of my clients, I get them at least minimally 30% more of whatever they're ever offered. Most of the time it's 50% more. And they're used to that now, and seeing their confidence that they have, the sureness of themselves, getting text messages from them saying, you're a daily lesson to me on what it means to have worth. Those things, like, it makes my work, it brings my work so much value to me. It feels like an honor to be a part of that. There's also instances in which there are artists I work with, and I'm like, you're telling me you want to be the next Drake, but you haven't released music in a year and a half.
Oh my gosh.
So
that's a lot of us though, right? That's a lot of us. Like, someone could say, hey, I want to be the best. Okay, I'll use myself as an example here, right? I want to be one of the top female Black business podcasters.
Yeah.
But girl, I mean, I put out episodes every week, but like, what are you doing to truly match the results that you want, right?
Yeah. And I have so much empathy though, because I used to come at it from there wasn't a lot of empathy. It was just like, you're not doing the work. I don't have anything to say. What are we even talking about here? And I'm not mad at people that feel like that. But having an understanding of like, oh, this is something that is deeply rooted in your subconscious. How about we get to whatever this belief is? Because we're all human. There's always something on the inside that's stopping us. And it's rarely a case when it's as plain and simple as you are literally just lazy. It's never really just that. It's always something that is driving that. There's a reason why you're using your laziness to keep you from moving forward. Why have you taken on this identity of a lazy person to begin with? Like, can we go there? So I definitely think that your mindset, I don't think that, I know that your mindset plays a crucial role, which is why you will hear the top entrepreneurs in the world talking about you need to develop your mindset. Because if you don't, you're going to crumble. Even if you do get the success, if you do not have the mindset that it takes to obtain that success, you're done for. You're losing it instantly. because you haven't become the type of person that it takes to obtain and maintain that success, that business, that podcast, that level of artistry. Like it's going to get lost unless you become that person.
It's funny because one thing that I was talking about this with a friend of mine that we don't often talk about too is the fear of success. I think that's something that a lot of us, you know, a lot of people talk about fear of failure, but I think there's a true, really fear of success and the fear of maybe I won't be able to handle it if I do make it. Does that make sense?
It does. It's directly connected to what I was saying, because and the reason why you have that fear of success is because you don't have the confidence that you are who it takes to maintain that. You may have the skill set, but if you haven't developed the mindset, you're going to second guess it. You don't know if you can handle, and that's why I have so much empathy for talent in particular, because that limelight, that spotlight, you don't know if you can actually handle that. If you haven't done the inner work to make sure that your identity is in who you are and not in just what you do, you're going to crumble when someone has something negative to say about your song or about the book you released or about whatever you put out into the world. And so you might be secretly self-sabotaging and not releasing it because you don't want to face the backlash.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, if you do not put in the inner work, you are going to have a fear of success, because you might fear that you're a fraud because you haven't really grown the muscles. You've just figured out a way to get the weight lifted, but it's not by your own strength. So I think that like the fear of success thing is probably a lot of people think that they're dealing with fear of failure, but it really is the fear of success. They don't know what's going to come once they get all of the money. Are they going to lose it? Are people going to then, try and steal from them? Are people going to then not want to talk to them because they think you're too good?
I love that you mentioned that. Maybe this is a little session for myself, right? Because it's something I've been thinking about when you talked about like the things, your past in a way. It's like, for me personally, I think one thing that I've been going through and just trying to work through is I come from like a culture, I'm Caribbean. It's very family oriented, very like pick up the next person as they come, right?
Yeah.
And it's this idea of, who will I have to bring along that I don't want to? Or who will I have to step away from in order to get to the next level, right? Like you can't bring everybody with you if you need to get to the next level. And I think for me personally, it's like me thinking of what are other people going to think of me if I surpass where I am now, right? And it's just hearing you think about that, I'm just like talking out loud. Like that's definitely something that I can relate to, and probably others can who are listening as well. Is like this idea of, I think especially as a Black woman, right? Like we're supposed to be building things so that we can build up everybody else. And it's like, does that always have to be what it is, right? Like, do I have to then make sure my whole family eats too? And it's like, it's hard, right?
Yeah, no, that is hard. And that's an honest concern. I feel like, people that come from service-based, families or, just like very, very family oriented, that's hard. And I come from a service-based family. Like I've been in, like all I've seen was my parents give.
Yeah.
And I think that it's something noble in it. And I also think that is something noble in making sure that my cup is filled first and that people get my overflow. You're not getting what's in this cup. You're going to get the overflow of it, because it is my responsibility for myself first to make sure that I am on full, because would you rather have this much of me or this much and then some of me? I want to show up full for the people that I love in life. And I think that the call to like love your neighbor as you love yourself starts with you. If I don't love me and the command is to love you as I love me, I can't really do that if I'm not loving me correctly. So I really think that statement is really about us first. And I think that how we love ourselves, how we show up for ourselves, how we pour into ourselves, the level at which our cup is full impacts how we can help and serve others. So I think that, with that, the limiting belief of like, oh, if I get really big, I'm going to have to take care of everyone, can be kind of reframed to, I'm so thankful that I will prioritize myself on my journey, and that I will be generous with my overflow and happy to help those who need me as I see fit. I will give to whoever I am directed to give to. I am not obligated to give just to give. I will give from the depths of my heart with gratitude, with joy. And I'm excited that I will have the resources to do that. It's not my responsibility to take care of anybody. It's just not.
Dream drivers, isn't it amazing that we live in a world where you can get anything you need when you need it right to your door? And with DoorDash, you can get pretty much anything. As a mom of two now, and I'm back to work at a 9 to 5 and having to come home to these kids and trying to make time for me too all in one day, I need a service that's going to give me back time and also convenience. Sick at home and can't leave the kids? Get your medication delivered. Socks got wet in the rain on the commute into the office? DoorDash some dry ones to wherever you are. Want to make any hour happy? Because sometimes we just need that, right? Order some alcohol, okay? Can't find your charger? Get another one quick. And lastly, can't do the dishes or just don't want to? With these kids, sometimes I just want to put my feet up and relax. Order in something from restaurants near you. DoorDash your door to more. Download the DoorDash app now to get almost anything delivered. Must be 21 plus to order alcohol. Drink responsibly. Alcohol available only in select markets. Dream drivers, you know in today's world, it seems the best treatment is reserved only for a few. Well, Discover wants to change that by making everyone feel special. That's why with your Discover card, you have access to 24/7 live customer service as well as $0 fraud liability, which means you're never held responsible for unauthorized purchases. Finally, no matter who you are or where you are in life, you'll feel special with Discover. Learn more at discover.com/creditcard. Limitations apply. Dream drivers, for me, there is nothing better than showcasing my joy. Our friends at Frito-Lay know that joy is bold, vivacious, and contagious. Joy gives life flavor, rhythm, and vibes. And when joy takes flight, it can't be contained. It is robust, more than a smile or a laugh, it's an infectious experience. So here's to all the creators that inspire us with your creativity and passion. Let's keep filling the world with joy. And make sure you look out for the My Joy campaign, powered by Frito-Lay.
Even in order for you to raise your son, if you are on E, you are in disservice to your son. Yeah. And I think like if we look at it like as simple as that, like you got to be your best self so that that baby can thrive and have a beautiful life. That same love and passion, if we're going to think about having to help other people, we need to think about how if we are not on full, we can't help them anyway. It's a disservice. So I just think that it's important to kind of reframe and then to also take the weight of that responsibility. I think that there are, of course, are people like for me, my mother and my father, my grandfather and my grandmother, my closest friends, my man, my future children. I'm in service to the world, first in service to myself, but those people, they come first. And I am thinking of them constantly as I am going, but none of them would say, you owe me this. None of them would feel an obligation to anything I have. I would be doing it from a place of love and from a place of overflow. They want for me to be full. They desire for me to wake up with full energy and to pour into myself because they know they're going to get the best of me. And that's how I want for them to be. I want their overflow. I don't want them to give me their last because now they don't eat. And I love them too much to see them in a position like that. So I think that adapting that mindset has helped me a lot in that arena. And if anybody else is listening, I hope that helps you too.
Thank you for sharing that. We had a little message there, Alexis. I really appreciate that. Let us just get to, I would love to know is like, with Exalt Management now, like what's the vision and what are you building, right? Because you have so many other things. You have the mentorship, you are part of the recording academy now. Like you really were able to get into the media world.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even something that you knew about. So talk to me about like that shift from beauty and then into entertainment and media. And then like where you think or how you're building it out now.
Yeah. So, I mean, the shift was really, it was, I guess, I think this quality, when you asked me in the beginning, like what are qualities and traits you had as a child that have shown up now, I've always been a little extreme. So like,
you know what's funny? That's another characteristic of everybody on this show. It's like the people who are dream driving are ones who you have to be a little delusional in a way, right? You have to have this little bit of like, I'm gonna keep going, right? Like,
yes,
yeah,
yes. And I don't even consider it delusional, because delusion is to have a belief in something that is not true. I
yeah.
consider it, my faith is so bold that it might seem delusional to you, but this is going to happen. And it's just like, I would, I wish I would have prepared a little bit more, but essentially what happened was I remember hearing from God, why are you in an environment that's not conducive to what I've called you to do?
Mm.
And it was like very convicting and like, okay, well, where do I need to go? And it was just like, where is entertainment? LA. And I'm like, so am I supposed to move? And I'm like, I think I'm supposed to move. So I literally booked a ticket out to LA, moved 2 weeks later. And
From
that's what I mean
Michigan. Or were
from
you in New
Michigan.
York? Okay, Michigan. Okay.
Michigan. And that's what I mean by extreme, because it was like, girl, like you just, it was like, yeah, I mean, I'm
You
supposed to do.
were you not scared? Because that's a big
Yeah, I was
move.
scared. Yeah, I was scared.
Culturally, physically, it's not just like going, across the lake or something. Like you legit went
Oh
west,
yeah, no,
west.
I was definitely scared, for sure. But it was just like I had that conviction, and I knew it almost felt like I'm really big on when things feel like threats to my purpose. It could be a people, it could be it could be a person, it could be a place, it could be myself. But if it's a threat to my purpose, I get very, very defensive, and it's like I have to move. So when I realized like, oh, I'm staying in an environment that's not conducive to my growth, I don't really feel like I'm all the way in purpose. It was like, oh, you must move, and I don't know how, but I'm just going to figure it out. Again, that curiosity, that faith, like it just kicked on, and I was like, I really feel like I'm supposed to do this, and I had history of those moments where it was like I would hear from God, and when I would move on it, it will always work out. And it could be a crazy story, but it will always work out. And so I think it was just me writing on that history and that pattern of my life and being like, okay, I'm going to go. And so I did. And I ended up moving with my best friend, who who was pursuing acting, and she's an actress now. And I remember being like, okay, if you're not ready to go, I'm gonna go anyway, because I know God told me I gotta go. So I was very much like, I'm going regardless. And she was like, okay. So we ended up moving to LA.
In 2 weeks, y'all just said, did you have a place to live, or was it kind of like I figure it out when I get there? Or were you figuring it out as you got there?
So I came here for 2 weeks to find a spot, and found a spot within 2 weeks time. And I remember having to come back for a work event, and I came back for like a week, and then I flew back out to LA, and like moved in. So, and that was in January 2019. And basically in my time here, like my first year, I was doing like a lot of PA work, for like BT and HBO and Revolt, and, just a whole bunch of different companies, and doing PA work for like Megan Thee Stallion. She had some
production assistant. That's PA, right?
Yes, production assistant.
Okay.
Yes. So doing all types of PA work for like artist release parties and things like that. And so just getting the exposure to how the systems worked out here, and to how business worked out here, was very different. California is a lot different than any other place in America, honestly. And from there, I just started leaning into the space more and started managing artists, and things just started coming to me. The more steps I took, the more things came to me. So it felt like I was being rewarded for making that effort. And yeah, just started making the pivot and wasn't doing beauty anymore. I had actually paused. I had a line called Temple, and it was a line dedicated to helping you honor your body as a temple. It was all natural, holistic products, because I was healing from two chronic conditions, and I had to be really careful about what I put in and on my body. And I remember pausing that, because I knew that this move to LA was going to be big, and that it was going to require a lot of me, and it was going to require a mindset shift. And I was like, I don't think I can juggle both of these things. So I was completely removed from beauty and products, and completely immersed in this new environment where it was like, if you do not adapt, you will fail. You will sink. You will be going back home. It's going to be bad. So I think like putting myself in the environment where my back was against the wall and I just had to figure it out, played a huge role in getting Exalt into fruition, and staying prayed up, keeping my mind right, continuing to do the inner work, lots and lots and lots and lots of inner work, and reprogramming has contributed greatly. And then also like business coaching, and right now focusing on scaling the company because Exalt is doing well and I'm very proud of it and happy. I am just knowing that there is a new level where I want for my team to really be able to thrive with Exalt full time. And yeah, I'm ready to scale. And so I've been in that process right now and focused on that so that this company can expand more and serve more people, and really leaning into like the sales marketing. That has not been my strength for myself. Sales marketing, having to like go tell people about my business for so long, everything through word of mouth, which is great, but it weakened me in that I did not have to develop the muscle of advertising my business. Yeah. And so now I'm doing something that I wish I would have done, years and years and years ago. And it makes me feel super weak in this area, but I'm getting my little baby muscles together right now. And that's the focus.
No, I think it's good that you share that, because I think a lot of us, you got to start it, right? And then you have to like submerge yourself in it, because sometimes being forced to figure it out, you'll figure it out, right? And you knew that you weren't going to go back to Michigan, right? Like you didn't have any like, all right, if this doesn't work out, I'm going to go back. But you mentioned something, and I just realized we haven't actually clarified it. I'll of course say it in the intro, but what is Exalt, right? What is it, and what do you do for your clients? And then how do you, what's the vision for growth there? We'll definitely mention it in the beginning. I'm sorry. I know what it is, but they probably don't know what it is.
You're fine. You're fine. Exalt is a full service talent and marketing agency where purpose meets profession. So I started it because I saw that there was a gap in that there are tons of talent agencies that can get you cool brand deals, which we do too. I've done brand deals with Hulu, Amazon, Meta, Spotify, YouTube, like a whole bunch of really, really awesome people. But I didn't see any agencies that really served the people behind the product that they produced. And again, because I really stand on this core principle that your business can only be a reflection of you, and because I saw firsthand the power of being transformed by the renewing of your mind and what that could do for you in any area of your life. And I also saw so many people that I knew, artists, talent, whomever, I saw them being stifled by themselves. Like they were their greatest enemy, like truly. And I wanted to be able to offer service to them that would not just help them show up in the spotlight, but that could also help them show up for themselves behind the scenes so that they could sustain that success in the spotlight. And so Exalt offers the subconscious reprogramming and the mindset coaching to our clients to make sure that they're high performing on the stage, on the court, on the field, on whatever, wherever they're at. We're making sure that they're solid from the inside out. We help them with their marketing initiatives, whether it's like an album rollout or, getting their branding together, their social media content. We'll work with brands to do like influencer marketing campaigns and brand consulting, content production, things of that sort. So that's the work that we do. I'm super passionate about it because it, to me, feels like something that the people that I work with will carry with them for forever. And it will go beyond an accolade. It'll go beyond an award. It'll go beyond the brand partnerships that we get them. It's going to be in them. So I'm super passionate about that work. And I think you asked where we're heading. It's just in making that more scaled. It's in pulling on more managers, developing a curriculum for mindset coaches so that we can train them and have more on our staff, and really taking on larger scope projects so that we can continue to grow in revenue, grow in talent as well, and just continue expanding, truly.
Does anything make you nervous? And I know, you've always been very confident and you speak with so much confidence, but like, is there anything where you're like, dang, I don't know if I'm doing this right, or like something that you're working through personally that could affect the business if you don't, keep it in check?
All the time. I sound confident because I am confident that things will be figured out, but it doesn't mean that I'm not scared. Oh
Mm.
my gosh, it doesn't mean I'm not scared at all. I think I think Maya Angelou said, to have courage does not mean that one is not unafraid. I have courage, but it doesn't mean that I'm not scared. I mean, right now, the sales marketing thing, I feel much better about it because I've been doing some reprogramming around it for the past couple of months. But man, if you asked me a few months ago, it would be like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I'm scared. I don't want to do it. I don't have time for that. I probably would have been making like excuses because I didn't want to just say straight up, like, I'm scared to do it because I don't know how to do it. I don't know how it's going to be received. I can't figure it out. I probably was just saying like, don't nobody have time for that. I don't want to be on Instagram and da, 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 da. But like, that's definitely been a thing. And then I think just like, when you're in the stage of scaling, you're shutting out a lot of money. You're investing, you're hiring a talent, you're, expanding your team. And so it's just like, okay, you got to bet on it that like, this is going to give you an ROI. And I think that like that muscle has definitely been growing for me over the past couple of years. But yeah, I mean, none of it is like nerve free. None of it. I think the only thing that feels nerve free to me is like when I'm in a session with someone or when I'm actually in the work, when I'm doing the work, when I'm in a session with someone or like, we have a big production and I'm there and I'm in my flow, then it's fine. But like, I think the preparation leading up to it for sure had me like, oh my gosh, like we got to pull this together. Pretty much anything that I don't have the answer to, you get a little bit of nervousness around it.
Yeah.
But I also think that it's been balancing out the longer I've been doing this of like, I'm actually kind of excited because I know who I'm going to become after I figure this out. I know I'm going to get stronger. So it's doing something recently has been happening for me, like in the past few months of like, I'm really changing and I really like this. And it's because of this inner work that I'm doing. I'm so excited that I have another challenge. Like it's definitely been an elevation and mindset shift for me with that.
What would you say to that person who's afraid to start the work, right? Whether it's the inner work, whether it's any type of work that they know they need to do, right? Like, what would you say to that person who's kind of on the seesaw and is like, I don't know, Alexis. I don't know.
I would say you just have to decide if you want to stay where you are more than you want to change. And then I'll leave you alone. If you want to stay where you at, stay where you at. Don't do the work. Like, I really do think that it's as simple as that. If you would like to change and you would like your life to change, then do the work. I don't have anything else to say to you besides that. You must do the work. You cannot get around it. There are no shortcuts for you. I don't know what else to say besides that. So decide where you would like to be and then choose the right path accordingly.
Thank you for sharing that. And, I just want to get your 2 cents before we wind down a little bit, because you have been showing up on social media. Like I said, I saw your viral social media video, right? Before your team reached out. And it's just like, what have you been learning about what it takes to be successful in social? Because I think a lot of us, well, there's some of us who love it, right? And some of us who hate it, but know we got to be there in order to reach the people and grow the brand. So what have been your lessons there that you've been learning personally?
Honestly, it's been the same lessons I've been learning since I've been in social. I mean, like for me, I think it's a different scope because what I've been learning for me personally is that I need to put rails up for when I'm doing a lot of social work for clients, because when I'm doing a lot of social work for clients, I fall back off my personal, whether that means like, okay, Alexis, this is going to be a heavy social season. So therefore, you need to hire someone to help you with your social. You need to invest, or you need to set up, certain timeframes for you to do your content more different than what you used to do. Maybe you used to only do it on the fly, but maybe now you can't do it on the fly. I've been learning that I definitely need a lot more structure in order for me to maintain consistency. I think that as the social scape has continued to evolve, consistency has become even more important. The algorithm is very, very fond of people that post on a consistent rate, and that you have to show up as you. Like it really is crazy to me. On TikTok, I could talk for 5 minutes, boom, 900,000 views. Now let me try and do a little trendy 10-second clip, 200 views. Oh my God.
It's like being authentic, right? Like I even have that moment where I'm like, sometimes I'll just think too much about like what's the perfect caption. The other day I just made a caption that was like a free write poem and people loved it. And it was just like showing up as yourself is the easiest thing to do. And sometimes it's the most effective. Like you can't try to be operating as if how you see others because it's just not going to be in alignment. And I think we talked about like that word alignment today, right? Like you got to be in alignment in alignment with yourself.
Yes.
And your purpose.
Yes.
Right?
And that's what I'm saying. It starts with the inner work. How would you know that, oh, I need to show up as myself by posting this free form poem or by doing this, that, and the third, if you don't even know who you are? How can you possibly know what is aligned for you and how to translate that to social if you haven't done the inner work? It's not possible. You're not going to be able to show up, which is what I think is such a foundational issue for why people don't like social media, because they are only focused on trends, on what the other person is doing, on trying to duplicate instead of doing that. Because that's so crazy. I'm actually making a little connection right now. Like there is a sort of inner work required in order for you to get that genuine, authentic social media content. You have to. You can't just be like, I mean, or you're going to get burnt out if you're having to show up as someone else. That's their job. And then your role is just empty and open. But if you aren't taking the time to be like, what are the things that I actually care about? What are the things that I could talk about on the spot? Why do these things light me up? What truly are my passions? What really is my purpose? What value could I bring to the world? If you aren't asking yourself those questions for your social media strategy, you're not going to have good social content. And people are going to feel that. People want to feel you and who you actually are. So if you do that inner work to figure those things out, it's going to make the process so much easier.
What would the young Alexis say to you if she were to meet you on the corner right now? Like, you know, if you were walking to get you some coffee or something and you ran into little Alexis, what do you think that conversation would be like?
I think, let me see. I could see her being very like excited about the work that we're doing. Oh, I'm getting emotional. I could see her being very excited about the work that I'm doing now and her being like, how? Why? Like just asking a bunch of questions.
Being curious, right? Like young curious.
Being curious and being like, okay, I'm going to do it now then. Like her really thinking, I can do what you're doing now at 7. And me having to like have a conversation where I'm like, half of this is time, especially in this business, because it's so relationship based. You need time on your side. So you quite literally cannot rush this. I don't want you to rush it or you're going to mess some stuff up. You need time. Time is on your side. The more time you can get under your belt, staying persistent, the further you will get. Because most people aren't going to stay persistent, Alexis. And that's how you're going to knock them out. That's how you're going to continue to propel and advance, because you're going to have time, persistence, and consistency mixed with your talent. Oh, baby, you're good. I need you to just keep being you. I need you to keep your mind focused, work here. I would probably introduce her to some sort of philosophy or like mindset work.
Go read this book, right?
Give her... Maybe read this book. Oh God, if I could give myself some books as a kid.
What books would you give her? What are some books on your shelf that you're like, listen, start reading this from now. You're gonna be ahead of the game.
I would definitely give her As a Man Thinketh. But the thing is, in reality, I wouldn't really give her any of these books because she wouldn't be able to understand them. They're too...
But I'm saying them just
but I would teach the concept.
Like, yeah. What are the books I should say? What are the books that you recommend to our listeners? Like if you just need if you need to read something, if you like things that you really enjoy. Yeah,
I think if you want to just like start getting better thought control and understanding of the subconscious and the mind, As a Man Thinketh by James Allen is it's such an easy read. I think it's like 15 pages. Like it's a really good book. You can get on Amazon. I think it's like $4. It's a super old book. Let me see what else I got back there. Pretty much all my books. Oh my God. I love them all. I mean, if you want to get into business and entrepreneurship and you have a product-based business, 12 Months to a Million by Ryan Daniel Moran. If you are a man who is trying to learn how to control his emotions and be a comprehensive man, I would suggest Battle Cry and Cry Like a Man by Jason Wilson.
Your
If
dad.
yes, yes, indeed. If you are trying to do better with money and not having scarcity mindset, It's Not Your Money by Tosha Silver. I hope I pronounced her name right. Oh my gosh. And then The Four Agreements, I think is
Love
a
that one.
classic as well. I have a whole bunch of different ones for different scenarios, but pretty much
Well,
those would be like off the top: mindset, money, business, emotional stability.
Well, thank you for sharing that. As we wind down though, Alexis, you have to have your keys to success, right? You mentioned three things that you would tell younger Alexis, but for our larger dream drivers, right? What are three things that you think every dream driver needs in their toolkit before they hit the road?
Every dream driver needs to have some sort of practice that requires them to do inner work. So that
Mm,
can be journaling, that could be you having a mindset coach, that could be therapy, that could be you reading and making sure that you're taking in content that is actually going to be leading you to the type of person you have to become in order to do the things that you want to do. I think that is so, so foundational. And honestly, that could just be my only one. But for the sake of this, I'm gonna give two more. The second one I would say is an audit of your surroundings. So by that I mean, where are you at? Like, what environment, what city are you in? Who's around you? Who is your friend groups? What are they like? The saying, you show me your friends, I can show you your future. It's 1,000% true. Birds of a feather
mm,
flock together. Also, your subconscious mind, the reason why this is true scientifically is because your subconscious is taking in all of what they're doing, all of what they're saying, their actions, even the tone in which they say things, even how they laugh. It's taking it in through your five senses, and it's going to spit it back out because that's what
mm.
it's saying all the time. So if you do not want to become like them, you should probably start shifting how you involve yourself with them. Especially, we're going to talk about like partners, like whoever you're dating. Crucial. Major key in your success or failure is the person that you decide to date and lay with. I think that that's super crucial. So taking inventory of your surroundings, because your environment has a very, very strong impact on how you think and what you do, because it's molding your mind. And then I would say the third thing is making sure that you're listening to content from people that are where you want to be
Mm.
and soaking it in. I think that's one of the easiest ways to start to reprogram, even if you don't feel like you're ready for it or they're at a different level than you or anything like that, still listen to it so that over time, that new level won't actually seem that crazy to you because you've been listening to it every day for the past 365 days. It's going to be like, oh, you could low key have a conversation with someone about this, and it seemed like you're very well versed in it and very well prepared in it. So I would say douse yourself in the content of those who you would like to become like, so that you can get to whatever goal you're trying to faster.
These are all tips, y'all. If y'all listen, I really hope that you have your notebook. Go back and write this stuff all down. You can definitely will link to this stuff in the show notes. Alexis, has been such an amazing conversation. Tell our listeners where they can find you, where they can find out more about Exalt, where they can connect with you online, and just have more of your mindset content and just stay connected.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys can find me on TikTok and Instagram at Lexalt, and that's Lexalt. It's a play off the name Exalt. It just has the L in front of it. And then you can find Exalt at exaltmgmt.com. It's just the abbreviation for management. And it's Exalt MGMT on Instagram as well. And I would love to hear from y'all. If y'all have any questions, DM me. I'd be responsive. And it's been a joy being on talking with you. Thank you for asking such good questions. I really enjoyed this.
All right, so that's a wrap for this episode of Dreams and Drive. I hope you enjoyed our guest's dream driving journey as well as listening to their keys to success. If you love this episode, you know what to do. Please make sure that you are following us. We are at Dreams and Drive across social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So make sure you're sharing this episode, posting it to your Instagram stories, texting it to a friend, sharing on LinkedIn, wherever you are or online. Just pay this forward and share this with somebody. We really appreciate it. And all the sharing that you do helps us grow our community. If you want to join our email newsletter, The Keys, and get weekly updates delivered to your inbox, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/join. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join. And lastly, if you know somebody who would be great for this show, or if you are someone who would be great for this show, please go to dreamsanddrive.com/pitch. I'm always accepting new guests. I'm always accepting new pitches. So I love to see those pitch requests coming in. Keep dreaming, keep driving, and we'll chat again in the next episode. Bye, guys.